All right. So we're going to talk about time signatures, and I want to briefly take us back to the beginning of when we started the class. We talked that music. We said that music has about three properties, and this aspect of time signature falls under duration of music. Okay. We'll quickly go to the first three slides. Okay, music is defined as the combination of sound, and it basically has three properties. Okay, the first one is pitch or frequency. Okay, we'll explain that at the beginning. We have the duration, how long, and we have the volume. We'll look at the volume a bit later after time signatures and key signatures as well. Okay, so but most now we're going to go into more of the duration. We'll be going on talking about duration in terms of the individual notes, half note, whole notes, quarter notes, and their value. Their value meaning how long how many beats they have, and how long they're supposed to be held. So we have been touching on the duration aspect. Today we'll go more into detail regarding the duration of music. Okay, so we're going to look at time signature. Okay, and okay, so time signature is made up of symbols that are used in denoting time or the rhythm of a piece of music. Okay, in time signature, there are usually two figures like a fraction. Okay, the upper figure denotes the number of beats to be counted in each bar. Okay, or in a measure. Okay, while the lower figure indicates the type of music note that controls the beat to be counted. Okay, we'll talk about that now. There's some terms here we'll try to explain. We'll quickly have a look at this one. So in each bar, so it says okay, so can we all hear me clearly? Please indicate if you can hear me.
Yes.
You can, okay. All right. Sorry, just a minute. Okay. Some of us may be having challenges hearing me, but I hope it's much better. Okay, please let me know if I'm not audible, and so that at least we can have a look. Perhaps I need to use another device. Okay. All right. So, okay, so we're going to talk about. We're going to continue with talking about the time signature. So we see here that that's the symbol normally, the 4/4. That's the fraction we're talking about. Okay, and normally in music, when so this is a sheet music like we saw at the beginning of that we've been looking at initially in the beginning of our courses, and we see that we've touched on most of these what we see here. Okay, we know what the staff is, the stave is. We know what the treble clef is and what the bass clef is. Okay, and we know what these notes are. These are notes. Okay, so maybe these are notes. All right. So you can see here that's a quarter note or a crotchet, and that's an eighth note or a quaver. Okay, remember we talked about the beam. Okay, so these two are separate 2/8 notes, but we can connect them with a beam. Okay, and there we have a half note, or also known as a meaning. Okay, And then at some places you might find a whole note, but this sheet music doesn't have a whole note. And so time signatures, this is what a time signature looks like. Okay? It looks more like a fraction. And as we see just now, we understand that the top number tells us how many beats are in a measure or between two or in a bar. Okay, like we said earlier, the region bounded by this bar line, these two bar lines, is called a measure or a bar. Okay, so okay, let me see if I can quickly sketch on this. Okay. Okay, so that from there to there. Now this region is called from that. See, that's the bar line there. Okay, there to there. So the region in between these two bar lines is called a measure. Okay, now the number 3 here tells us how many beats are in this bar. Okay, now the number 4 here tells us the type of note that represents one beat. Okay, so we'll go back to our notes. Okay, so the upper figure denotes the number of beats to be counted in each bar or each measure, the number of beats to be counted. So like I mentioned, this tells us it's a 3, that means 3 beats in one bar, and the number 4 or the number below, while the lower figure indicates the type of music note. Okay, remember the music note, we have about about 7. There are about music notes. We have the whole note, we have the half note, we have the crotchet or the quarter note. We have the quaver, we have the eighth, that's or the 8th note, or the 16th note. So the lower figure tells us the type of music note that controls the beats to be counted. In other words, it gives us an indication of which music notes take one beat. Okay. All right. So the lower figures are and the music notes of beats they represent. Okay. 2 represents a minim beat. Okay. 4 represents a crotchet beat. 8 represents a quaver beat. So whenever we see a 4 here, this 4 will tell us that it is a crotchet. So say for example, if you know this 3, and say for example you have a 1 here. To that. So say for example, this is replaced by 1, for example. So when we replace that by 1, okay, say for example we have a 1 replacing this value here. Okay, remember say you have 1 replacing the 3. Remember if we go back to our notes, we will notice that okay, we notice here that it's a quarter note. If you look at that, it almost looks like a quarter note. And remember, a quarter note is a crotchet. Okay, and so that's what will help us. Now, if this is a 2, we know that that's a half note. Okay, and then if you see, so that would help us to understand what kind of note this is. Okay, so like here, if you notice, okay, the lower figures and the music notes they represent. So 2 represents a minim. Okay, almost if you put a 1 over 2, it almost sounds like it's a half note. Okay, that's one way to look at it. And then if you see 4, if you say 1/4, okay, it's almost like a quarter. You know, it's a quarter. If you say 1/8, you know, it's okay. Eighth note represents a quaver beat. Okay, so basically, when we see when we have something like this, I'll actually explain this in more detail. That. Okay, so now, so what this tells us means that in a bar line, you can have, say for example, we have in this bar, we have all of them are quarter notes. That means we will have 3 quarter notes in one bar. Okay, and that will represent our time signature for this. If we go through this, we may not necessarily see 4 beats, but what we can do is we'll do an exercise to verify how many beats are in this bar and whether for each of these bars this rule or this time signature is satisfied in each of these measures. Okay, so that's what this signature is. That's what the time signature means. Okay, so going by the rules given above, 4/4, like you see here. Okay, 4/4 means there are 4 crotchet beats in each bar. Okay. Okay, if the number above, so 4/4 means there are 4 crotchet beats. 4/4 will mean, remember there's 4 crotchet, the lower note tells us it's 4 crotchet beats. Okay, and in one bar, so 4, this 4 here will represent that 4 on top, so there will be 4 beats in the bar, but which notes will depict that beat, which will now be the figuratively or imagine a 1/4, so which is a quarter note. Okay, so with 4 quarter notes in each bar. And if we have a 2 above, so if we replace this 4 with a 2, so basically 2/4, we will have 2 crotchet beats in a bar. Okay, which means there will be 2 crotchet beats in the bar. Okay, and these can be seen below. Okay, so we'll take for example this one here. Okay, we see that this is a 4/4 time signature, which means that in a bar or in a measure, we would have 4 beats in a bar. And regardless of how many, if you see there's different kinds of notes here, but if you add their values, you'll add up to 4 beats, okay, in each of these bars. So that would help us. So if you notice there's consistency in each of these bars, so that will help us to time the beats of the song we're considering. Okay. The next one is a 2/4. So remember we said the 2 is that 2 beats in one bar. Okay. And the 4 means that means 1 beat, 1 crotchet note is equivalent to 1 beat. Okay. 2/2 means that there are 2 million beats in each bar. Okay, so remember what a bar is. That's what a bar is. Okay, that is what a bar is. So these are bar lines and a measure or beat. So a measure is bounded by 2 bar lines. Okay. All right. So a 3/8. Okay, so we can have another time signature called a 3/8. Okay. What does this mean? This means that there are 3 quaver beats or 3/8 notes in a bar. Okay, or in each bar. So for every sheet music, you will see that they start off. You notice at the beginning of every sheet music, it starts off with a time signature. Okay, it starts off with a clef, and it starts off with a key signature, which we will look at later. But today we're looking at time signatures. Okay, so you notice that to get a sheet music, you need to know, okay, what's the duration and what's the rhythm of this piece of music. So we see here is a 3/4. So we can also have a 3-8. We can also have a 2-4. We can also have 6-8. So in this example we have here, we have a 3-8. 3-8 would mean we have 3 quaver beats in a bar, or 3/8 notes in a bar. Okay. Then if the number above is 6, okay, which you have here, you will have 6 quaver beats in a bar. Okay. So that's quite easy to understand. So always remember the top number tells us how many beats are in a bar, but which note takes 1 beat. And that will tell us at the bottom. It is quaver, minim, or a quaver or 6 note or 16 note. Sometimes we can have 4/16, but mostly you will notice that for most of the music, they have their different types of time signatures depending on the type of music. But mostly and commonly we will see a 4/4. Normally we will see a 3/4, and normally as well we'll see a 6/8. Okay. All right. So we'll have a look at another aspect. Okay. So let me quickly share. Okay. All right. So basically, this time signatures will help us to. This is more the beginning of reading sheet music. It has to do with duration, as we've noticed, duration, the value of the note. The value. This is where the values of each note come into play. Okay. And it's kind of like an introduction to reading music and be able to see a sheet music and know how to, start reading the music and how the song would play out. Okay, so okay, sorry, just give me a minute. Okay, can we hear me better now? Hello? Okay, great. All right. Okay, so the time signature helps us to um, identify the rhythm of a song and how, how will I put it, the beat of a song. Sometimes when you listen to a song, you nod your head in a way. So that nodding, there's a sequence at which you are nodding your head, and there's a pace at which you are nodding your head, and that you are nodding your head to the beats of the song. Okay, and that's what we're looking at here. So for now, we'll ignore the heading, but this is one of the steps we need to take in order to read music. Now, like we mentioned earlier, 4/4, the 4 on top tells us how many beats are in a bar or in each bar of a sheet music. And then the 4 below tells us the note of value for each beat. So it tells us which note carries that one beat. It's either a minim, a crotchet, or a quaver. Okay, so here, like I mentioned earlier, we have different time signatures. We have a 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, and it goes like that. Now, we'll need to always remember that the whole note has 4 beats, okay? And which will tie in depending on the tempo at which you are singing, and also depending on how many beats in that bar. That's how long you have to hold each of these notes. Okay, we'll go into a practical example just now. Okay, so we're now talking about a quaver note, a quarter note, which is a crotchet. I will need to remember that it has 1 beat. Okay, and all these values will depend on what time signature we are dealing with. Okay, now 2 things to consider when reading music. Number 1 is beats, and then the next is rhythm. Okay, counting the beat is easy and often does not change throughout the music piece. So the time signature is what tells us the beat or the pace at which we are going. Okay, well, the pace is more of the tempo, but the beats tells us, how there's a specific way the song is going. Okay, now counting the rhythm is not always steady or reliable. It changes throughout the music depending on the note value. Okay, now different words are used between the beat to identify the rhythm. Okay, different words are used between the beat to identify the rhythm. So, for example, in order for you to identify the rhythm, you need to either count. It's best either you count or you clapping. Also helps to identify the rhythm of the song. The rhythm of the song will more be affected by, say, if you have a quaver note, and then all of a sudden you have a minim, then you have a crotchet. So that rhythm would change, but normally the beat is quite you can easily identify a song, whether it's a 3/4 or a 4/4, a 2/4. Okay. Now, later on, we'll go into the practicality of how we, count and identify these rhythms and the beats. Okay. We'll talk about that later on. Okay. All right. So, okay. Now we're going to run through a few exercises just to explain further the time signatures. And before we do that, I'm just going to quickly check a few things. to share my screen. Okay, so we're going to have a look at reading time signatures. Okay, now as I've said earlier, this is a 4/4. If we see this value in the beginning of a sheet music, we know that this is a 4/4. And again, the top value shows 4 beats in a measure. Okay, so we see here 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and the reason why there's 4 of these quarter notes is because the bottom 4 tells us a quarter note gets 1 beat. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 is equals to 4. Okay, now if we go to the next measure, we have this because this satisfies the condition of 4/4. Okay, remember 2 quarter beats, quarter notes, or 2 crotchets is equals to 1 minim. Okay, so if we have 2 half notes or 2 minims, it is equivalent to 4 quarter notes. So we have 2 quarter crotchets in this 1 minim, and we have 2 crotchets in this 1 minim. So we have in total 4 minims. But if you notice, this is, we can't see any a quarter note here, but we see there's 2 half notes which satisfies this time signature. Okay, so in any piece of music, we will always find in a bar, we need to satisfy the condition of the time signature we have here. Okay, now I'll quickly run through, we will, at the end of this, we will run through the rhythm of this and how it sounds. Okay, now we also have a whole note. Okay, in our previous lessons, we found out the relationships between the whole note, half note, quarter note, and the eighth note. Now, the reason we have one whole note here, okay, is because, okay, we have, if we have 2 crotchets in this 1 minim, and we have 2 crotchets in this 1 minim, then we know that 2 whole notes, 2 half notes make 1 whole note. And so therefore in 1 whole note, we have 4 quarter notes. Okay, similarly to this one, if we count all this, we will have 4. We'll count 4. So let's quickly do that. This is a quarter note, so that's 1. Okay, I would really love to, okay, let me do this. Let me actually explain. I think it will be more better to explain this. Okay, so okay, so let's do this and we bring this here. Okay, so okay, yes. Okay, let's see. All right, so like we mentioned, let's get a pen here. Okay, so like we've mentioned, this is a 4/4 time signature 4/4, and what that means is, okay, we know what it means. A quarter note gets 1 beat. So the quarter note, that's 1 beat. That's 1. That's 1. Okay, and that's 1. All right. Now this is a minim, and we know based on our relationship that's our whole note. It goes down to a minim. It has a minim. Okay, so 2 minims make 1 whole note. And then 1 minim is equivalent to 2 quarter notes. Okay, and we have that again. Okay, we have that again there. So basically 2 half notes is equals to 4 quarter notes. Okay, we are familiar with this, and I believe we all understand it by now. And then we have, you know, eighth notes, about eighth notes, which make up 4 quarter notes. So similar here, we know that because we can, all our calculation will be based on how many quarter notes can we find in this half note. We know that we can find 2 quarter notes in this half note, 2 quarter notes, and in this half note we can also find 2 quarter notes. 2 plus 2 equals to 4, which gives us 4 beats in a bar. All right, same thing here. We know that a whole note, okay, we can run down the line to say a whole note equals 2 half notes, and then 2 half notes again will give us 4. So we will know we have 4. Okay, so if you notice, we have 4 here, 4, 4. Okay, now here, that's what? That's a quarter note. So that's 1 beat. This is what? This is 2 eighth notes, or 2 quavers, right? So that would mean this would take half, okay, and half. Okay, so remember, if we, this is value of 4, right? The whole note is equals to 4. This is equals to what? One of them is equals to 2. Okay, one of this is equals to 1. And remember, when we were defining our quaver, we know that that is equals to 1 over 2. So basically splitting all this into 2 as we go down. That's that portion. Let me just quickly do that. So it's there. Okay. So if we divide them by 2, we notice that we have that relationship. So now coming here, we will see that we have this is 1 beat, but now we're going down, we're dividing it further to eighth notes. So 1/8 note will take half half. Okay, that's 1. And that's 1 over 2. That's 1 over 2. So we have 1 plus 2 halves is 1 plus that 1 plus that 1. We add all that, we get 4 beats in the bar. So now what the difference, all these notes, they look the same. Okay, the beats in each bar are the same. However, the rhythm is different because we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 1. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3. Okay, and then 1, and then 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Okay, so we will get into the more intricate details of how I read that out, but let's see how, what I did now was, getting how to read this music, or this piece of music we have here. Okay, so you've noticed I was skipping some of the numbers I was counting between 1 and 4. So that shows like the beat, the rhythm was different, but we're keeping to the same 4 beats in the bar. Okay, now, like I mentioned earlier, I think this is also important. Let's go into a quick exercise of how we will read this music we have here. Okay, so let me quickly erase all that. Okay, now what we will do is
one way to easily read this music is to think like this we looked at here. So counting the rhythm is not always steady or reliable because we have different kinds of musical notes which have different rest periods, or well, different values. Okay, so different words are used between beats to identify the rhythm. Note counting and clapping, okay, or using a metronome and then saying out the notes can also help to identify the rhythm. So now we're going to go into the rhythm now. And what we can easily use for the rhythm is a metronome. Now, metronome helps us, is more like a time signature, which helps us with the rhythm to identify the rhythm of a song. Okay, now we notice we have a 3/4, 4/4, 2/4, and all that. Now, this, if you notice here, we have these numbers here. Okay, so now okay, just a minute. Okay, there's something wrong with, I'm not seeming to hear it on this side. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's to be very quiet here. I don't know what's going on. Let me try another one. For some reason, the reason the sound is very bad, I'm not sure why. I think having challenges with mic. Okay, so I'm going to clap. I think we definitely have to use the clapping method now. So one way to, what we are going to do is we're going to identify the beats in this bar. So there's 4 beats in a measure. What is normally done is we count this 4 beats. So we count, consecutively. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So when I'm trying to read the music, I wouldn't speak it out, but my clapping would help me, will guide me with the 4/4 beat. Okay, so okay, so now once I'm doing that, what I was just doing now was counting these ones. So now we'll notice that these I will now, because I'm counting, I'm clapping with the 4/4 because now my time signature tells me that I have 4 beats in each bar. So my clapping would help me say, okay, I need whatever notes I'm singing, I need to stick within the 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now what I'm going to say, the numbers I will count will be the values of the notes and how they fit into my clapping. Okay, now you'll notice that there's the half note that is here. Now this half note, you just listen carefully how I'll sing it. So this half note takes 2 quarter notes, but I'm not going to sing the 2 quarter notes. I'm going to play just this 1 note. And you'll notice that my 1 note will last for 2 beats. Okay, remember my beats will be my counting, my clapping. Okay, now, so each of these dots will tell me that's where I'm supposed to say the number. Okay, so remember I'm counting 1. Okay, so I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, all right. Normally, since for each beat, okay, so let's do this. For each beat is 1 in a bar. Sorry, in a bar I need to have 4 beats, right? But I'm going to just say with the red, I'm going to put how will I put this? I'm going to put the number of beats I'm supposed to have in a bar. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2. I'm just going to say 3, and then 4. But this is how I will sing it. Okay, I'm going to use then. I'm going to sing 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I'm going to say 1, and then 3, and then I'm going to come here and say 1, and I'm going to say 1. Okay, and this one will be very interesting. I'll say 2 and. So in between the 2 and 3, I need to sing this note because it's half of 1. So in between 1 and 2, or between 2 and 3, I need to indicate this note. I need to pronounce this note because it's a 8th note, so it comes in quicker in between. So it's basically I'm dividing. So it's basically I'm having, say, a time difference. So say my example, I'm having, this is time. Okay, I have this amount of time, and I need to sing some notes in here. But now I need to split this time into more portions so that I can sing all the notes in between this time I have. Okay. All right, so that's what we'll do just now. I think we will just briefly explain that. And then here I will have a 3, and then here I will have a 4 and. Okay, and I'll make sure that I sing all these notes in between 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's quickly do that. Okay, I'm going to use the red ink to easily 2, 3, 4. Okay, so remember the blue is just 4. 1 is the number of beats in a bar, standard. It's across each bar. I need to have 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. But what I'm going to sing is 1, 2, 3. Now this is the notes I'm indicating 4, right? I'm going to sing 1 and then 3. Okay, and I'll come to this. Now that I'm on this bar, I'm going to say 1. The reason why I'm having 1 and 3 here is because this note takes 2 beats. And remember, I have 4 beats, so it will take up 1 and 2 already. This note will take up 1 and 2. So basically, when I speak 1 and 2, the next note that this will take is number 3. And now this note it represents 4 beats, so I'm going to only say this note, sing this note once. Okay, I'm going to show you how that will work now. And this is 1 and then 2 and, because I mentioned I'm splitting the time, and I need to sing all these notes between 1 to 4 beats. Okay, and that's 3, and that's 4, and okay. So let's do that. So now my clapping would be my notes. That will be my notes. Notes are these dotted ones we see, okay? And then that will be my clapping. Okay, now let's do this. So I'm going to start. So now there's also something called tempo. Let's briefly go to tempo before we go practicalize this. So tempo and say the beats are different. The beats is 1, 2, 3, 4, but there's a different. Now tempo is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 1, 2, 3, 4. So the latter, what I was saying in the latter now was much more slower than what I sang initially. This is more slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You notice I'm still keeping to the beats of this song, which is a 4/4, but I'm singing it slower. And the slower means I'm singing it at a slower or lower tempo. Okay. Now if I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's faster. So that means I'm singing it at a higher tempo. Okay, but I'm still keeping to the beats of the song or of this song we're considering here. Okay, so to demonstrate how this piece, just this short piece from there today, I'm going to sing all that. Okay, so remember I'm going to clap. My clapping is normal, like this. So normally when we are clapping or in the metronome, number 1 is more pronounced to tell us that that's what we are starting the count. We're repeating, starting the count all over again. So it's okay. So that will help us to identify, you know, the clapping while we're singing. So now I'm going to be singing the notes. Now the notes that I'll be saying out would be these notes that you see, these dotted notes, the quavers, the crotchets, the minims, the whole note, and that. So I'll be saying it out and you will notice the difference. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Okay, so I'm going to repeat this. I'm going to start from here. Okay, I'm going to start from this whole note now. I'm going to start from that one. I'll repeat this one. Okay, so remember, I'll start my 1. You know, this is when I came here. I said I only called it 1, but I kept clapping. I had to finish the clapping of the 4 because this whole note has 4 beats. Okay, it takes 4 beats, 4 crotchet beats. So there's 4 crotchet beats in this whole note. So my clapping needs to finish off that 4 beats before I go to the next bar. Okay, but remember I only said 1 because this is just 1 note, but it contains 4 crotchet beats. But I need to hold this note for the duration of 4 beats in a bar, and I'm going to sing it once. Okay, so I'll do that just now, and then I'll continue into this one. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Okay, so if you paid attention to my clapping, I was still counting 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you notice, when I was singing this one here, I was in between 2 and 3. I had to sing another note. So basically, this would be 1, 2, and okay, and then that would be 3. So between 2 and 3, there's another note that we have to sing. So we normally depict it by an and, for example. So we're beginning with an and because this note, like I mentioned earlier, we're splitting this quarter note, which is 1 beat, into 2. So we still need to fit in this 2/8 notes in between 2 and 3. So before I get to 3, I need to sing the 2, and then when I go into this one, I need to sing this one before I go there. So it's 1. Okay, so it's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so it's 1, 2, and 3. So notice I didn't clap for the and. I didn't say I could do that, but it's like remember I'm only clapping to help me keep to the 4 beats in a bar beat. and then I will sing out the note for each of these ones. Okay, each of the notes we have here. Okay, so it's 1, 2, and 3. If you notice, I had to say the and in between 2 and 3, so that's the note comes in quicker. So say for example we have a 6, this is the 8th note. If we have a 16th note here, then we have to sing these notes quickly in between 2 and 3, so it'll be 1, 1, 2, and 3. No, it'll be 1 and a 3. Okay, so I'm going to quickly show us this now. So having gone through this exercise, let me show you what we're talking about now. That is, okay, I think my screen is sharing. Sorry, perhaps I was sharing the wrong screen. Was I sharing the right screen? Sorry about that. I hope I wasn't sharing the wrong screen. Okay, so that is, let's see, just a minute. Okay, share screen, share number that. Okay, so so remember it is a 4/4 time signature, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now that's 4/4, so meaning this is a crotchet, and we have 4 crotchet beats in the bar. So that's what we have. Now in the event that we have still a 4/4, but then we now introduce an 8th note, then we have that. So I will keep to the normal beat of 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Before I get to this 2, I need to include that note. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, and then we have a 16th note, but we'll get to this one. This one is a lot more. So if you notice now, this will be more. Okay, so we're still keeping to the tempo, but if you notice, we need to. It sounds like as if that's the rhythm now. The rhythm is because it's now we need to include all the quarter notes, and we have subdivided the quarter note, include all the 16th notes, because we have subdivided the quarter notes into different into 16th notes. So we need to play these notes. Okay. All right. Are there any questions? I think I've actually said a lot. Are there questions? Sorry, was I sharing when I was explaining? Okay, please confirm with me. I don't think I was sharing my screen, was I sharing this? Was everyone seeing this? Hello, can we hear me?
Yes.
Sorry?
Yes, we saw it. I think we saw it. I was seeing for myself.
Sorry, just a minute. Okay, that's good. I'm having challenges. Just a minute, sorry. Hello? Hello? Okay, okay, so I think I've rectified my speakers. Okay, so we were all seeing this example, right? Okay, I can see, yes,
Yes.
we were. Okay, that's great. So I think now the metronome would work now. I think I was sharing computer screen, sharing computer audio. So perhaps, let me see, metronome, there you go. So perhaps now I'll hear it. That's it's very faint on this side. But anyway, so like I mentioned, when I was clapping, I could replace the clapping alternatively with this. Okay, so I can now set this metronome to say, okay, that's 4 beats. So if I have a sheet music, so say for example, I have the GHS 34 constantly abiding. It's a 3/4 signature, so that means it's a three beats, 3 crotchet beats in a bar. So the 3 beats in a bar. So I need to set this to 3. Okay, I need to set this to 3, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now my saying 1, 2, 3 depends on the how quick I'm saying the 1, 2, 3 depends on the tempo. I can say there. So if you notice 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So for you to normally get the song very well and to know the rhythm, you have to sometimes go very slowly so that you can easily take time to know the values of these notes and be able to sing them in between that metronome beat or your clapping. Okay, so today we'll stop there for now. That this would help us to not to get too much information, but I think this is good for us to think on. So I think before we end, I think we have about 8 minutes left. Let's quickly go through perhaps some exercises. Let me see if I think I should have some here. Just a minute. Just give me a couple of minutes. Okay, so alternatively, sometimes when when you have a piece of music, sometimes you would notice that you will have to identify the key signature for that music. That's also one thing where these things come into play, where the key signature of a song is very distinct. You know, you can easily identify. You can easily identify it. Okay, so we're going to do just a quick exercise before we call it a day. Okay, Siviwe, can you help us with the first one? What does 2/4 mean? So this here, what does this tell us?
Sorry, I'm not following anything.
Sorry? I can't hear you. Okay, you didn't follow much. Okay. Oh, all right. To understand, were you able to follow our previous classes? At least were you able to watch the videos of our previous classes? You can type in the chat box because I think you can. Oh, interesting. Oh, so this seems like it's your first time, right, of joining us. Okay, all right. I believe. Okay, yeah. Okay, once or twice. Yes, you joined us a bit, I believe. So, please go through the notes. I can. Okay, so yes, trust me. I believe you would have to start catch up a bit, so that you can at least understand the notes. I don't know. Just let me know if you received the links to the other notes on the group. If you can't, then I'll send them to you. All right. So it's please go find time to go through them so that you're up to speed. Okay. Bolu seems to be not connected. Okay, praise. Um, what can you explain this time signature for us, please?
There's 2 beats in a bar.
Okay, and which beat has 1 beat? Or which beat carries 1 beat? Yes, there's 2 beats in a bar. That's you've only done that one. What about this one?
Crutches.
There you go. Okay, what about the crotchets? Okay, Subukazi, can you help us out?
Right. Yeah. There are 4. No, it's 2 beats for the
Yes,
tone. Then a quarter note gets 1 beat.
awesome. And what note is this?
That's a quarter note.
There you go. And what note will it, what beat will it, how many beats will it have?
I'm sorry, can you repeat yourself?
What beat will this 1 quarter note have? How many beats will it have?
It will have 2, no.
Yeah, this one here.
It's 1 beat.
There you go. Okay, thank you very much. So, so always remember this is a 2/4. Perfect. First one is good. So we have 2 beats in a bar. So we have that's 2/2. Okay, well, not looking with the eye, you might not tell, but we need to find out if we don't have this here, if we don't have that, we will not be able to tell if we don't have this information here, right? We cannot, well, to some extent, we may not be able to tell how many beats are in here or which of these notes tells 1 beat. Well, perhaps as you go along, you might be able to figure out which one. You can either do the mathematics and then just check, okay, this one probably has 1, maybe let's assign, for example, maybe this would have 1 beat. And then we just check, okay, this plus that is half, okay, makes that 2. We could find that out, but it's easy to now come here and say, okay, look at this to easily identify. Now we know that this is 2, so that's 2 beats in the bar, but we need to identify which note, okay, on this piece of save has the 1 beat, so that's our central focus. So if we know this has 1 beat, like Subukazi has rightly said, then we can now be able to identify the beat for this one. So this is the 8th note, so this would be half beat, because we have that's our a crotchet or a quaver. If we split this into 2, we have what? 2 8th notes there, and with a flag, and that with a flag. Okay, and if we said according to that this is 1 beat, we're splitting it in half, then we will have 1/2 there and 1/2. And we see that this is a eighth note, and we will have 1/2. Okay, this is very interesting. So remember, we've done dotted notes already. So this will help us very much. So, okay, I'll proceed with that. Okay, I think we'll give it out. So Praise, you will help us again. How many beats will this now have? Okay, so we know that this would have, this is a quaver, a crotchet, it has 1 beat. Okay, how many beats will this have? Okay, how many beats will this have?
1.5.
1.5. Thank you. God bless you. Okay, 1.5. Why? Because if you see a dotted note, this dot splits the value of this note in half, and it adds it to the value of this original note. So what I mean by that is this note is 1 beat, 1 beat. Okay. Okay, so that note is 1 beat, and this dot will tell us that we need to the value of this note, we need to make it a half, we need to divide it into 2. So the value, which is 1, we have that. And now, because we take this as a whole, we call it a dotted crotchet. A dotted crotchet will then have 1 plus the half it's adding, so we have 1/2. So the value of this note is 1/2. Okay. All right. So we'll go to the next one. So and then we can now assign how many beats, and then obviously we can, or like I did earlier, we can read out this. But for now, we will not. We'll do that exercise in our next class. Okay, we'll just quickly round up now. Next exercise. Praise, can you help us with this one? What does this time signature mean? Okay, give us a clue. Sometimes it's good to just imagine there's a 1 above this 3. Okay, so making it that 1/8. With that little clue, can you explain this time signature for us? 3/8. It's Praise there. Okay. This is a Tosin. Can you help us? Hello? Are we still around? Wait, do we understand? Okay, we're quiet now, so I'm wondering.
We are hearing, sorry.
Okay, yeah, so how 3/8, who can explain to us what it means?
Okay, can I?
Yes, you may.
And okay, on that 3/8, there are 3 beats in a measure,
Anybody? Yes.
and then an 8th note gets 1 beat.
Perfect. Perfect. That's very correct. Okay. And if we look in here, which is the 8th note, it will be that one. Okay, so good exercise here. If this is 1 beat, right? How many beats would this have? Sorry?
It will have 2 beats.
Perfect. It will have 2 beats. Okay, so it's more like we how I put it, we started off like there, okay, and that, okay, not sorry, there, okay, and then if we're going up, we will kind of like to have two beats, okay, and if we have something a minim, that would have like 4 beats, okay, and then now this would now have this will be, I think this is yes, this is a 16th note. This will be a 1/2 beats. Okay. All right, last one before we call it a day. That. Praise, can you help us again? I hope you're around. Perhaps Caesar, maybe Caesar now understands. Caesar, do you follow now? Okay, perhaps you still need to go through the notes. Okay. Is Praise around? Hello, Praise. Okay, so I think, yeah, so that's Praise might not be around. So there, same thing, 6 beats in a bar. Okay, I have 6 beats in a bar, and that's a bar. Okay, so we will have 6 beats in here. It doesn't look like 6 beats, but if we count the value of all this, we will get 6. And if you notice here, 6 beats in a bar, but now which note takes 1 beat? That'll be 4. Okay. So normally what I do is imaginary. I just think, okay, what if I replace a 1 here with this 6? I have almost like a quarter note. See that 1/4, normally 1/8, 1/4. I normally do that. I believe I need to test it on different, but I think it works, I believe. I'm still yet to test that, but normally for these common ones, it's easy I normally just say, okay, put a 1 there, and okay, that's 1/8, so the 8th note, and we'll take 1 beat, and the quarter note will take 1 beat. Okay, so here we have almost like a good example. We have 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, we would have had 1, 1 if we had 2, but now we have we would have 1, 1 if we had a crotchet, but now this minim is here. And how many crotchets do we have in a minim? Okay, so we have 2. So basically this would be 2. So if we add 1 plus that plus that plus that plus that, so that will be 6. And the same goes for this. So we have 2, 1, 1/2, 1/2, and we have 2. So that's 4 plus 1, 5 plus that 2. Okay, here we have, okay, so this is 2. So normally we can ignore, we said dotted minim, but one thing, the way quickly to do it is, okay, ignore the minim. What's the value of this? Okay, so it says this minim is not here. Okay, so that's 2 beats. Perfect. Now bring back the minim to say bring back the dotted. No, it's a dotted. So we need to add half of that. So okay, half of 2 is 1. So we need to add half of the value of that. We have 3 plus same thing here, 3. We have 6. So in each of these bars we have 6 beats. Okay. Oh, look at this one. This is a whole note. How many quarter notes are in a whole note? That's 4. How many quarter notes are in a minim? That's 2. 4 plus 2 is equals to 6. Okay, so we have 6, 6, 6, 6. So it's 6 beats, but the rhythm will be different because we have different. I'm very sorry. This is still on. Because we have different. How do I put this? Note values. So this will just, if we just start this on the keyboard, it will be bang, but we will hold this note until we count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we now press the next note there, which will be the next 5, 6. Okay, so the first, this is how this will sound. So it will be 1, 5. Okay, and then this one would be 1, 4. Okay, so it'll be 1, 4. Okay, it'll be 1. So remember our beat is 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So for this one we have here, okay, I'm going to play this one, okay, so it will be 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I was about to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ha. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 5. But then I won't count the 6 because that's the note up. So what I'm saying, the numbers I'm counting will be exactly what will be played, say, on the keyboard, for example. Okay, so I think we've gone far today. So I think that is a brief study on time signatures. So I think that's now the interesting part now too. So basically the same thing we're doing now is the same thing we will apply to this music, to any sheet music. So GHS, this GHS is the same thing. 3, 4, 3, 4 will still keep the same what I was doing. So this would be 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, 1. You know, and that will be yeah. So this is completed here. Okay, so we will go into incomplete notes, but if you notice, this is kind of like in an incomplete bar, but normally it's completed at the beginning of the song. Okay, so that's 2 beats and that's 1 beat. So 2 plus that is that. So all this bar here or this stave is complete. Okay, are there any questions? Let me not go into another lesson now. Do we have any questions? Are we all, is it clear? All right. Okay, Praise, can you pray for us? Much of Praise is online. Sister Sipokazi, can you pray for us, please?